No Dewey, folks. Okay. So we kind of come from all over. We'll cover zones. We'll cover all the stuff you need to know. We'll make sure you don't make any mistakes. That's actually impossible. Gardening is learned by mistakes. We want to reduce those. What do we got? One more minute? See if I can fog up that lens before you go. Half the crew is out sick. What is that all about? Not COVID. Not COVID. Just something else. I don't know what it is. Good news, just for the newbies that came in just kind of early. As of, let me think here, Wednesday, I'm a grandfather. Yeah, isn't that awesome? So my oldest daughter, she and her husband live in Austin, Texas. And so I've got a major event, community garden thing that we're doing on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're flying out to go visit them for a week and go kind of hug grandbabies, which is the greatest thing ever. Oh my gosh. And then Lisa, he just deployed to Poland. Okay, he's a PA. So basically, if you shoot a cannon and get hurt, he and his medic's going to take care of you. That's it. He runs a clinic over there. He's deployed for 9 months. He married a Pole whose family lives right by the base. And so she's going, hey, I'll come and visit you and take the kids with them because they've never been back to Poland. She's first gen American. Her parents are from Poland. So it's that whole thing. So very deep connections. So they're going to stay at her uncle's house. Their cousins are going to drive them around, show them all the sights. And our daughter-in-law goes, you want to go? So I said, I would love to go, but I got to run a garden center. It's coming into spring. We just hired like 15 people. I need to be here to set the culture, make sure everyone's on track. But you can go. So Lisa's going to fly out of here. She'll be gone basically March, just to go hang out with grandkids and do that. That's the other set. So I've got 4 grandkids all together. Actually, we have 4 kids all together. So anyway, that's kind of what's new in our world, which is very exciting. My 11-year-old, he just came back with me this last holiday. So I bury arrowheads and foreign coins and marbles, not the small ones, like the shooters, the big ones. I bury those in the backyard. So I've been doing that for a decade. Kids have been looking. I'm trying to create, like curiosity outdoors. We garden together. So they've been going out for years. He comes up and goes, Pop, I think you're putting those in the backyard. So I'm sure he doesn't believe in Santa Claus anymore either. That's stupid 11-year-olds. So just hit mid-eye. So he goes, I will neither accept nor deny what you just said, but if you want, I can make sure that never happens again. And he goes, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. So this hilarious. Oh my gosh. Grandkids are the best. There you go. I was out playing with them on they live in a military town. So Fort Hood, north of Austin, the Army, that's a big base. All the cannons and tanks are like from there. That's first cab. That's right there. First line of anything that goes on, that's there. So he's there. It's all military. And so I'm playing on the playground with all the other grandkids. I have this pull. Kids love me. Dogs love me. Customers, I don't know what it is. But I have this draw. So all the kids we're playing tag and going up and down the slides. And all the mothers are over there. All the Army moms are over there going, yeah, it's good to see young grandpa energy out there. I mean, I've never heard that term, but okay. So you let me know when we're going down. Oh, you got it flipped around to me. What is that all about? What? How did I do that? So we're going to use a computer camera. I like that anyway. It's good. I like seeing myself. Yeah. I like hearing myself. The weird thing. My mother gave me a Mr. Microphone as a kid, and I've loved one ever since. The bigger the crowd, the more power. Oh. So, welcome. Good to see you. So how many, this is your very first, welcome. How many, this is your very first garden season here at this altitude? Oh, over half. Oh, that's good. You know, you'll learn a lot. So this is a technical class. So we'll make sure you're leapfrogged ahead of your neighbors who are going, I don't know, I think you just chuck it in the ground, it'll grow. No, it's not the way it works here. So we'll make sure you got this. Why don't we start by, I'll give out business cards. Not that I need to give out business cards, but it has the water guide on the back of this. Just gonna take one and just pass it back. And the number one question we get at the garden center, bar none, the number one question, how often should I water? I mean, I went, okay, I can't answer this. Life is boring if you have to answer that question 15 times a day. Here's my card. Here's how you do it right here. Tape it inside your irrigation box. Tape it inside your garden journal. It's made to be there. So our growing season is April through October. And our winter season is everything in between. So March, basically November through March. So we're still in the winter season. Obviously, there's snow on the ground. And so plants are using water right now, just not very much. So it's slow motion. So you can see the bud swelling. So you can tell things are going on in the roots. And so you do need to water in the winter, usually about once a month. It's very low key, maybe twice a month if we don't get any moisture. So you just never know up here at this altitude, you never know how much moisture you're going to get. You can either be buried alive in snow or none for months. You never know. During the growing season, you're watering your established plants about once a week. That's good. The biggest mistake people make, new folks, especially you poor Northwest folks, oh my gosh, you're thinking everything loves to be drowned in water. You poor folks in Chino Valley, Paulden, that area, you got free water. You stick a straw in the ground, just let it flow. You tend to way overwater. If you're going to kill things here, it'll be from overwater. So it's clay soil, heavy clay soil, and that holds that moisture. And it looks dry up here, but down there it's still gooey wet. And so this is pretty accurate. Kind of, if you're going to make a mistake, follow this. This is going to be less mistakes than, or buy a tool. Hydrometers are the best. Moisture meters, just stick one in the ground. It'll tell you if it's moist. And you may need to invest in some different tools here because it's dry. So whereas you Midwest folks, I mean, we're going to cover some of that. Midwesterners, they think you just throw this hat on the ground, it starts to grow. That's how gardening is always that easy. Well, that's true if you got 8 foot of topsoil. We don't have that here. So let me know, Ken, when we're powered up. Oh, we've been going? Oh, I can start then. Sorry. I was entertaining. I was stalling until you actually got the go button. Hey, welcome, folks, to Waters Garden Center. We are so glad that you're here. Oh, wait, I'm playing this camera, not that one now. Okay, perfect. Welcome. Today's class is gardening for newcomers. Not just newcomers, but just how do you up your game here at a high elevation, dry, alkaline, sunny, windy location. So we're exposed. We're up here. Hey, you're up in God's country. It is beautiful up here. It's why we live up here. But we're also up here where everything's wind whipped, especially folks on the ridge lines. Oh, you poor folks on the ridge lines. All your soil kind of settled down the bottom and you're up on rocks, exposed to wind. So we're going to cover today. So my name's Ken. I am the owner of the Garden Center. So I've owned the Garden Center for the last 30 years. Actually, as of this year, this spring is our 61st spring open house. March 10, 11, 12, put on your calendar. We will have all of our growers, the people that invented some of these plants. They actually created some of the plants. They patented them. They're going to be here. I just call them friends. And they kind of come up and go, yeah, we'd love, that sounds fun. We also wine and dine them we treat them very well. So they want to come with us. We also give them a lot of business. So that kind of works out. Thank you for buying their plants. They're willing to come and share with all of us. So I've been doing this for 30 years. My father-in-law, Harold Waters, the founder, started the business in 1962. So he had very pretty daughters, 4 of them. And I took a liking to the youngest, I think prettiest one. So that's her name is Lisa. She's down there working today. We've had 4 kids. And so they're all over the planet now. So mainly lots of Texans. Seems like Texas is a pull for younger, getting started kind of stuff. And then I've got one, my youngest one, Mackenzie. She has said, I like this. I want to do this. Would you pass the baton to me? She's the third generation who's in training to run the garden center for the next, hopefully 30 years. So that's kind of that's our legacy. That's who we're at. This is way more than just a business. It's not a livelihood. This is legacy, family, memory, community. We think of it much more than that. So we go through life thinking, what would happen if Waters Garden Center were to disappear? Would the community miss us? That's our goal. And so this is pressure packed, I know. But we're playing soccer with your kids. We see at church. We're going to see at the grocery store. We see it. That's community, isn't it? It's not a big box where all of our money goes to Arkansas. It stays right here. So that's kind of our we've farmed all over the county. We've had multiple garden centers. This is our newest one. It's built in 1983 by my father-in-law, but it's our newest one. We just keep expanding as the community grows, we grow with it. Some things we want to cover today are zones. What is our garden zone? Why don't we just start there? How to plant, how to fertilize, how to take care of, what are the seasons, frost dates, we got to cover all that. So that's the overview of the whole class. We are a zone 7, USDA zone 7. Oh, but I'm from Prescott Valley. You're a zone 7. I'm from Chino. I'm from Poland. I'm way out there. You're zone 7. I'm from Skull Valley. You might be a zone 8. Okay. Dewey, Humboldt, maybe a zone 8. Maybe, but when it gets cold, it'll kill your plants too. What a zone is how cold can a plant go before it dies? So plants have antifreeze in them. It's a measurement of how much antifreeze that plant has in the structure of that plant. And so the lower the number, the colder it can go. So this lilac, I thought I brought a lilac. This lilac right here, this is like a zone 4. It goes down to minus like 30 degrees, some crazy, we'll never see that kind of cold. So for you, I think, hopefully, I've seen 0 a couple times. I've never seen minus 10, any of that. Maybe up in Williams, Flagstaff, those areas, they get a little colder, but that's a different zone. They're a zone 5, we're a zone 7, they're just colder. Phoenix, that's gonna be like a zone 10, that's never sees cold. They never freeze. That's why they grow cacti. We don't grow cacti, or we grow prickly pear. I think the Antarctic grows prickly pear. It grows everywhere, so you can grow that one. But all the others, I see a big mistake. A lot of folks, let me put this down real quick. Put this right here. Sorry, Ken, I'm going to go off camera for a second. Here we go. I'm coming back. We know you folks are online watching. Hold up. Don't make a comment yet. So you can grow plants that are zone 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anything lower than that, you're good. Because it's that much antifreeze or more. So this thing you cannot freeze. You can water it too much and rot it out, but you can't freeze it out. So like you see all these new buds, these are the flower buds. They've been setting flower buds since last fall, so they're just now starting to really swell and open up. This will be that big long blue, white. I brought white here. It's this color because it's the one I grow, just because I think it's a little more fragrant. And I've grown a lot of blue common lilacs. It's just so common. I'm bored. I own a garden center. I want something new. So I grow white just for fragrance. It is more fragrant. Yeah, very, very much. Very sweet smell. Sweeter than a rose. Sweeter than, it's right up there with gardenia as far as the smell goes. Very, very nice. So I'll cut them and bring them in a vase and kind of enjoy them indoors. But that's your zones. So I flirt myself with a zone 8. So you'll see a few palm trees. You'll hear rumors of palms. You'll hear rumors of zone 8 stuff. But it seems like every few years we get real cold, it kills them out. So just you're really borderline if you're doing that. So I'll grow some barrel cactus. That's a zone 8. It's really questionable. I grow it in a container, and out during the growing season, I'll put it right out there on the patio where it's just radiant heat. It's hot. Nothing else grows. I grow it out there. Plus, it's pretty. It's stylish. All the new garden magazines, the style magazine, you're seeing glazed, bowls with cacti or yucca or agaves in it. That's the style. Well, I kind of want some of that. And so, but right now, I have it still outside, but I have it under the covers by the front door. It's under the cover so I don't get frost and snow right on it, and I have it touching the house. the house seems to be the secret. So your house radiates heat. And so it keeps that thing down where it's just, it keeps it, it's several years old, still going, and I'm not worried. And so that's some tricks you can do. So for gardeners, I mean, you're here in February, had a garden class because you're brand new to the area and you want to know. Okay, that's your zone 8 people. I like to garden, plus I want more. So that's how you cheat with zone 8. But don't just commit to, and don't go to Phoenix for the love of gardening. Don't go down there. Bring those plants up here and expect them to grow. They will grow for one season and be dead this winter. You poor Californians. You brought all your agaves over, or all your succulents from California, brought them over here. You put them outside and they just all vaporized. They turned black, mushy, and died. Because they were a zone 10. They were a tropical type of sedum, not a hardy zone 7 sedum. So you need to get the right one. So when you look at that number, just know 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That seems to be a mystery. Frost dates come right behind that. We have more frost to come. We'll have a couple more months worth of frost. So the 100-year average, 100 years of data, we've been tracking this. Prescott, Arizona is May 8. That is the last frost date. Now the problem with May 8, with averages, sometimes it's at the end of April, sometimes it's the middle of May, but the average is May 8th. The locals use Mother's Day as the kind of holiday demarcation line. That's usually a couple days after. I hear some ranchers go, when you see the snow gone on the Bradshaws, then it's time. It aligns the same way. Basically, you're working with nature, not against it. You're kind of looking for signals. But May 8th, so Mother's Day. That's when you put all your summer plants in. Before that, you put all your spring plants in. And we'll go, these are all spring plants. I'll show you what they are. We'll go over a little show and tell kind of stuff. So you know, what can I plant now and what should I not plant now? You'll notice I don't have any tomatoes right now. Although some of you are asking, I know, be patient. I'm trying to help you not make a blundering mistake. Just mistakes. Blundering, we're just at this class, anti-blundering garden mistakes. You don't want those, that's a tropical plant. It doesn't like to look cold. So if you're outside at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're cold, so is a tomato. If you're freezing to death, so will a tomato. So it doesn't like to go below 50. So we'll usually have those showing up. I'll have a few, because I know I can't hold some of you back. I'll have a few the end of March. Really, it's April. We start to bring those in for those folks that have greenhouses. We're also a regional garden center, so we're bringing people from all over the county. We see Seligman, Ashfork. Thank you for tuning in, because I know you're there every week. So we just have folks coming from all over elevations. So we're trying to help them. We're leading that by a couple of weeks or so. That's the last frost, May 8th. The first frost is typically Halloween. I think it's October 29 to be exact, but the locals use the holiday Halloween to that's our frost. It'll be really nice out, and all of a sudden it'll just turn like that, and you should have your sheets ready to put over that frost cover. Better be ready to cover those tomatoes, because they'll be loaded. And then it will turn nice again. So we have what we call Indian summers. I know Native American summers, whatever you call them now to be socially correct, but basically we get really nice and then it goes real cold, then it goes nice again. We don't do this slow, methodical, we go violent, cold, then back, we do this. Same with spring. March is gonna come and it's gonna be stellar, beautiful. The snow is going to all melt. You're going to go, it's been a week and a half of beautiful 70 degree. That's why I love living here. You'll shoot pictures to your neighbors from the North Midwest, Wisconsin, going, look at the temperature. And then it will snow. We'll get like 4 inches of snow, just like that. It'll melt real quick. It's usually a real heavy, wet, waiting kind of snow, but just know it's going to happen. Don't be fooled. So our last frost is typically end of April, first part of May, somewhere in there, depending on really what it comes down to. What is your exposure on the hill? So your neighborhood's got a grade to it. If you're on the east side or the south side, your things will actually bloom 10 to 14 days earlier than the same neighborhood. So purple leaf plums are one of the first trees to bloom in spring. They'll be in bloom by middle of the end of March. I mean, full glorious, like, whoa, it's spring, oh my gosh. It likes early spring. But in your neighborhood, just right there, just a few blocks, some will be blooming, and then we'll get calls. And, oh, something happened. I'm so worried about what did I do wrong? Well, nothing. You're just on the south side or the west side. You're in the colder, or you're down. You'll notice as you walk through your neighborhood, as you get through the gullies, it's real cold down there. And so cold air flows through these, through neighborhoods. And so those plants will be stalled a few days while it waits to warm up just a little bit more. And then then all of a sudden it'll take off and bloom for you. So you'll see those differences. Don't be worried. The other one that gets folks is we have, really, I call it 5 seasons. We have right now, really sick. Let me just see if I can define it. We have early spring is right now. There's frost every night, bright sunny days. We dress in layers because it'll be cold in the morning and I need to take a couple layers off this afternoon. That's early spring. And that goes through middle of April or so. Middle of April through June, good through May, middle of June, I just call it spring. The entire community is here. We're mobbed. We can't keep plants on the tables fast enough. We're just filling the place up. Peak of the planting season, spring. Tomatoes go in. Your roses go in by then. I have 1,000 roses show up the last week in April. It just sets everything off. And so that's spring. I defined June as its own month. I call it perennial month. Perennials are those plants that come back every year. So perennial and permanent both start with P. So permanent. Annuals bloom like crazy for 1 year and then they're done. They don't come back. They freeze and they die. So annuals, perennials. We are in peak perennial country because we're high altitude. It's bright and it's dry. So we don't get all those mildews, spots, meltdowns, black spots, all these different issues you've had in more humid climates. We don't get that, but we can grow them really well here. And all of the meadow grasses do really well here. Not all, but there's a couple annual stuff but most of them, I'd say 99% of them do really well because we are meadows. That's what we have up here. So those two blend really well together. I call that June. That's when at the garden center, they're all in bloom. Right now, I've got some are in bloom, like this columbine I brought. There we go. This is the Arizona columbine. It's a native. That's the Arizona color. It grows wild up in the forest. You'll see it growing. Animals don't eat this. It comes back year after year. Yes, we tricked it to blooming early because I know some of your gardeners are going to go, I want something in my pots that looks pretty, and I want it now. We got it for you. So naturally, they'll bloom about a month later. So they'll be really April through May. That's when they really bloom. And I'll have every color coming up pretty quick. But you got to start with yellow. This is a perennial. Comes back from so right now, it'll die back to the ground. I've been cutting back all of my perennials. Just take a lawnmower, a weed whacker, or just get them as close as I can to the ground. Just cut them back. Take that dead, spent foliage from last year. Cut it back, and already I'm starting to see the new growth coming up. So my mums are already up this tall. Columbines are already up. The peonies, you folks in the Midwest, you'll love your peonies. The rest of you have heard rumors that I bring here. It's a bucket of dirt. But it's inspiring because you'll see right here, we'll show you folks online because you'll get excited. I don't know if you can see that on the computer camera. See all the buds, or all the eyes right there? Those are all those red. So this is the old foliage. So that's all been cut back. And when you go back there, you'll see all these new eyes coming up. And mine in my own gardens, this is how they look right now. So pruning, as far as maintenance goes, finish your pruning right now. Cut back your perennials. Someone already asked about roses. Thank you. Wait on roses till March. Prune roses back in March. For all you Valley folks, Valley being the Flatlanders of Phoenix and Scottsdale, Tucson, the desert folks, you prune yours back November, December, way, way earlier. Here, we keep that foliage, the canes, up over that plant to help protect it, just in case it gets cold. I have personally, my name's Ken. I'm your friend. I've made this mistake and I don't want it to happen to you. I had the pruners out. You understand this. We got the tools, we want to use them. And we can't stop once we start. So I'm out pruning, cutting. And I pruned my roses back in February. We got another real last kind of bitter cold. We had one more kind of event. They took my cane. This is like the perfect way to prune. This is a nice rose. I had to cut back all 5 canes, perfectly balanced, back to the graft. Had a cold, it killed off all these canes, all I was left with a stub. Had to grow it all back out again. It set me back by 2-3 weeks. If I just waited a few more days, I would have been fine. So just be patient. I know they're starting to put leaves on. I know you see they're growing. That's okay. They like to be cut back when they're actively growing. So that's one little caveat, a little different here than maybe other parts of the country that you've come from. Prune roses in March, not February through March. You'll be tempted. Let's just cover this too. So we have 2 seasons for roses. We grow roses better here than anywhere else because it's bright, it's high altitude, and it's dry. So I can't tell you, I can count the number of times I've seen black spot. In all my years, maybe on one hand, it's so rare. You just never, I'm sure it was brought from somewhere else and brought in. That's the only time I've seen it. We don't have black spot. This is that black, just canes turn black and start eating up it's cancer for roses. It happens everywhere in the country except here. We get a little bit of mildew because that summer rain, but that's more of a watering mistake, and we'll cover that in a little bit. But roses do exceptionally well here. I mean, big, juicy, like fragrant roses. That they grow really well, all of them. We have 2 times that you really see roses flood the garden center. Right now we have what we call peat pots. This is grown inside of a giant peat pot. We planted up last year. We've rooted it out. You take it out of this plastic, plant it right in there. It is not bare roots. You'll see a lot of bare root roses out in the marketplace right now. Don't buy those. They fail. I mean, over half of them fail. What a bare root is it was grown on a farm. They dig it up. They shake all the dirt off. They cut the roots off, put it in a pretty bag and go, here, you want one? And so what happens with our alkaline water and the way our soil is, they just don't root out very easily. And so they'll tend to die. The buds can't make it through the dry, crusty bark. They die. They just die to the point. I stopped selling those 20 years ago because the failure, you're coming to buy at Waters Garden Center for success. You're not buying plants, you're buying success. And if my plants don't live, you might as well go over to Home Depot and buy their stuff because their guarantee will make sure you're covered because it's going to die. Here, they better grow. And so we just took our bare root, put it up last year. And so it's a year-old bare root that's fully rooted. You put that in, and it's already starting to bud. So you'll see this group. So I got a few hundred of them down there. What you'll find this time of year is all the newest varieties. So all the ones that are being talked about, you rosarians, you're freakish. So you're like, oh, I don't have that color. Oh, that's a brand new one. Oh, you know who you are. They got medication for that. So, but anyway, you'll see the newest ones this time of year. We'll wait till the frost is pretty much over. It's kind of calculated. We've got them programmed to all bloom out the last week in April. That seems to be pretty safe. What I don't want to bring is 1,000 roses in. We get a frost or a snow, and it won't kill the bush, but it takes all the flowers. And you're coming, I'm trying to inspire gardening, and a rose without a flower on it, it ain't very inspiring. So we want them all in bloom. So we'll have the entire front parking lot will be nothing but roses, all in bloom, all at once. And we kind of know how to make that all happen. So that's the most popular time. And I'll have all the key varieties then. But that's the reason there's pent up demand. People are going, I want them now. I want them. I want them. Well, just hold on. They'll be here. We're waiting. We're trying to be safe as well. Make sure they're in bloom for you. It's kind of a fun time. If you're into roses, that's a fun time. Okay, where was I at? Let me think here. Seasons. June is perennial month. So you got early spring, June. Summer is just the summer. So July, August, September, summer. That's crepe myrtles, rose of Sharon's, smoke bush. There's all kinds of fun. You folks from colder climate, there's a lot more options for you. And summer is your season to really shine. Those things do not like spring. So that we'll get all these calls in May, through May, basically going, oh, I don't know, my crepe myrtle, I'm really worried. It's not leafed out yet. I'm going, well, it doesn't care. It doesn't like spring. Has no interest. It wants summer, wants the heat. It wants it to be 95 degrees, a prevailing southwest wind that's 10% humidity and more sunshine. It wants sun. That's what they like. And so for those hotter areas surrounded by rock, that's what you plant. I would say grapes are sort of that. They're real late to kind of leaf out. So people tend to freak out and they lose their heads. Oh, I did something wrong. No, it's waiting for that soil temperature to be warm enough, basically. So the days can be warm, but the soil can still be cold. And so usually by middle of May, June, it's kind of your summer things start to take off. So that's when you see that summer season blooming things. And the whole place will be filled with rosemaries, filled with butterfly bush. We're just every end cap. There'll be hummingbirds all over the place. That's your summer season. We are a forest season climate, so we're famous for our fall color. That's aspens, maples, ash, locusts, all those leafy deciduous plants. Deciduous is they lose their leaves in winter. They're also famous for their fall color. I'd say lilacs, they don't have their foliage, but they're beautiful gold, like aspen gold, like shrub up like this big aspen gold. You can already start to see next spring's buds forming. That's your fall season. And then winter evergreens. You got to have some conifers. Conifers are those plants that have needles, basically, that stay green year round. And then there's broadleaf evergreens like this. This is I brought, here we go. Number one seller by far. Put my kids through college with this plant alone. This is red-tipped photinia. So all the new growth, you've seen it's just starting to elongate in the last couple of weeks. That new growth will be all red, and then it will green up. This is a monster. It gets easily 12 by 12 by 12. I mean, small children and dogs have been lost inside this plant. Don't put this right next to your driveway. Don't put it against the house or you will hate it. It just takes over. It's just a maintenance nightmare. So you want to keep it down this big. It'll be too much work. You want it to go, you want that doggone neighbor that's always in the hot tub without clothes on. Come on. Why put it right there where you have to look at that? Put it right there. There you go. Or did you hear her? She said, or maybe you don't have the clothes on the hot tub. I love this gal. Anyway, we digress. So this one, I personally don't plant this one myself because it's more work than I want. It's not a native. It tends to get powdery mildew, this white powdery stuff on it. Deer eat it, javelina bite on it. But it's the number one seller because it grows so fast. And it's got the pretty red. It's got a white flower to it. But I would rather plant some different things myself that are far less maintenance without all the bugs and issues with it. So, but I'm not going to keep you from buying the number one seller, but I bring it just going, I'll probably try to talk you out of it. If you're talking with me, I'll probably try to switch over going, you sure you don't want this native thing? That's a broadleaf evergreen. Leaf keeps it green. And then needles are conifers, spruce, pine, fir, cedar, cypress, junipers. These are all conifers. So you hear those definitions. You'll get confused, and we'll just straighten you out going, oh yeah, you need some of both. How much, if you're designing your landscape, of each do you need? I tell folks you need 20%, at least 20% evergreens in the yard. Or your yard looks naked right now. It just looks bare. This is the anchor. It gets you through any season. It's filler in the summer. It just gives you something always to look at. You can put little Christmas lights on them. They're cute in the holidays. So, but you want at least 20%. 20% should be spring bloomers, lilacs, forsythias, all that early, rhododendrons, azaleas. These are all spring blooming things. You're going to want them. Spring blooming trees, so red buds, crab apples, all the purple leaf plum, #1 seller. It's got pink flowers in the spring, and then it puts on purple foliage. Gets up about 15 feet tall, kind of A-shaped. You'll see them everywhere. They announce spring. So it's just this rotation thing. So you want at least 20% to spring, or you'll miss out. You'll be going, I wish I had one of those. Just give it 20%. You won't think that. 20% should be summer bloomers. Yeah. Oh, how about right there? Does that work?
Well, I don't know. Because about 20 seconds away.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I can see myself right there, which is right spot on. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Summer bloomers are crepe myrtles, roses, I'd say, rose of Sharon's, butterfly bush. These are all things that bloom throughout the entire summer season. Autumn sage. It's a cute little shrub about this big, has red flowers all over it. Hummingbirds love it. Russian sage. If ever you hear the word sage or salvia in the name, you know it's a good plant for here. That's animals aren't going to eat it. It's fragrant. Hummingbirds and butterflies love it. Usually it'll take full sun, like blistering hot sun. And so those are all summer bloomers. 20% should be fall color. So you got spring, summer, fall, winter. The last 20% should be whatever tickles your fancy. I got a room full of gardeners here. Thank you for being here. Just come to the garden center, and if this is your summer home, if you're from Scottsdale, put it in the summer because you're up here. Who cares about winter? You're down in the valley. If you're from Minnesota, this is your winter home. Focus on winter bloomers, winter evergreens, winter. So focus on that. You can flex and do whatever you want. Okay, so that's 100%. Does that make sense? So early spring, summer, fall, winter, whatever you want. So it kind of gets you a balance about right. 60% of your property should be softscape, living things. That'll be a little tricky for you folks in the Midwest where there's a lot of lawns, because basically the entire yard is lawn. So you've automatically got that covered, and you need for some more trees. You need to get the green off the ground and have some up here. Here with rock lawns, if you get that balance wrong, it'll feel kind of sterile. You'll just feel it. You won't know why. So it's 60% is the trick. And so trees count. So all that entire canopy, that whole area counts for that property. And that 60% includes the driveway, the rooftop. It's got the whole plot, 60%. If you get that right, it'll feel good. You'll have shade. You'll want to go outside and watch sunsets. You'll go outside and talk to neighbors as you're lounging in the front sofa area. You'll just feel it. If you get it too much, it'll feel like it's a jungle. You feel like you got to walk through. It feels too tight. That's usually going to be your model home. You bought the last one, and they always overplant that model home because they know 60% too. They're trying to get more. It's not grown up yet. They're just trying to get it where you feel good when you walk in, so you buy one. So there you might have to thin some out. That contractor package you bought, a tree, 2 shrubs, and a boulder, probably not enough. So you'll feel, it's not quite right. But your drip system's in, so you can add another one if you want, or add a container up the driveway. We see that a lot. We seem to be the accessory place for do-it-yourself. So I know I need something. I want something pretty. I want butterflies, or I want to help the birds, or whatever. That's us. So that makes sense. So seasonality. Let's talk alkalinity, because this is unique to here. We do not deal with acid at all. So our gardens are not acidic. And you're just about to hear HGTV, Fine Garden Magazine. They're all going to start saying, put lime in the gardens. Lime sweetens the soil. Have you heard this? Lime. The lime fairy dust is going out there. Just don't lime anything. You'll kill it right off. The reason is lime lowers, let me think. Yeah, lime raises the pH. Or if you've got real acidic soil, you're dealing with 5.0, and you need to raise it up to 6.5, the perfect neutral pH. Well, that's what you'd put on there. Here, we're already at 7, 8. Some of you are, I've seen 9.4. If you had hot tubs and pools, you know, the pH goes from 0 to 10, basically. In the 9s, you're swimming around in alkalinity. You might as well go in ammonia. That kills off everything. Your plants will yellow. They'll drop their flowers. They won't bloom. They stop growing. The leaves start getting smaller. Those are all indications of my pH crept up too high or it's too alkaline. You need to do the opposite of what the rest of the country does. You're adding soil sulfur. Sulfur lowers pH. It makes things more acidic. So I brought an example of that. Soil sulfur. It does actually look like little pellets. It looks like little sulfur UFOs floating around on the yard. Just kind of, and as water hits it, it slowly breaks down. It just makes it compensates for the tap water that you have. So every time you water from your hose, it raises the pH. So that ring that builds up in the bathtub or the sinks, that also builds up in your soil. So you're always trying to flush it out, not have that happen. It clogs up the pores, that kind of stuff. This helps make things more acidic. And it's just unique to really kind of Albuquerque, Durango, Arizona, this one little circle. We're very, very alkaline. The rest of the country is acid. So it's kind of different. That's why you want to really be careful who you're taking your content from, your garden advice. Because if you're just Googling that, you'll be killing stuff off. The other one that's touted often is ash. Putting your barbecue grill ash or your fireplace ash. Don't put that in your yard. Not good. Yet you see it's everywhere on the internet. It's everywhere. Don't do it. It will kill that soil just like that. Personal experience. I've tried it. I don't want that for you. It's not fun. And the reason being, our soil already has a bunch of ash in it. So Thumb Butte is a volcano core. The San Francisco Peaks, Glassford Hill, those are all volcanoes. Volcanoes are everywhere. All the mountaintops are volcanoes. All that ash is floated down. If you add more to it, you just spiked it. Also, ash is very alkaline, so there's a bunch of things you don't want to do to your soil. Those are the reasons why. Just believe, try it. I put this on every year, every spring. I put this on everything. I just take a hand spreader. I just sling it underneath my trees, put it in my flower beds, my vegetable beds, because I know I'm dealing with high pH, and it's your hose. We're all dealing with well water. So you punch it, even the city water. It's just a well out in Chino Valley. They pipe it in. We're all dealing with well water. And so, is that my phone or your phone? Who is that? Huh. Okay, turn your phones off. You're distracting me. Oh, I should have known. Oh my gosh. I'm embarrassed. Just kidding. So I'm putting a soil sulfur on everything in the spring. And I'm going to give you how to fertilize. In fact, why don't we just cover that? I'm fertilizing 3 times a year, 4 times for my evergreens, 3 times. Right now, spring, you're thinking Easter. That's a holiday that you'd kind of demarcation line. But basically, before the end of March, anytime from now through March, make sure you fertilize everything in the yard. And I would use, did I bring it? All-purpose plant food, all-purpose. Let's get it closer for the folks, right there. Can you see it right there? All-purpose plant food. This is a granular, organic, I can't call it organic, all natural food. So it's got cottonseed meal, bird guano. I can't call it organic because I put iron and sulfur in there because I know you're dealing with pH issues. So I just put sulfur in there. Well, as soon as you put a mineral in, you can't call it organic. You can only deal with meals like blood meal, bone meal, those are organic. So this is all natural. It's granular, so you're going to spread it out in a hand spreader. Just throw it out there. Look salt and peppered when you're all done. It goes to the rock, it goes to the fabric, it goes through all that kind of stuff. You do not need to work it into the ground. So I'll do it now. I'll reapply and I'll do the soil sulfur. I'll do these 2 things. now by the end of March. It's important, especially folks with new landscapes. Those landscapes, they just are so young and cute and scrawny. They just need to grow up. Fertilize them, they'll grow up. Fertilize them more often, they'll grow up. Monsoon season, so we have a wet cycle that happens here. It starts July 4th, guaranteed. Actually, I think the date is the last week in June. It actually starts. I've never seen any real rain then, but usually July 4th, we start to see the clouds start to build. We always get rain in July, August, September, always. We never know how much, but we always get, humidity goes up. I'm taking advantage of that. So I'm fertilizing right before that rain comes, because you can get a whole nother set of growth on those maples. Those aspens can be stunning. Whole nother set of rose flowers coming on just by fertilizing right then. The most important feeding of the entire year, bar none, the one that people skimp on that causes issues, is Halloween. Fertilize in October. Your lilacs, forsythia, your fruit trees, they're all they're using that food to make this next spring's flower. Super important. So I get a lot of folks coming in, they're going, oh, my lilacs were beautiful 3 years ago. They haven't bloomed in 2 years. Why? It's because they're not being fed. They're starving to death, and plants don't thrive. They don't flourish when they're starving. So you need to fertilize more often here. It's because we don't have anything good in our soil. Once you start digging a hole, you'll figure this out. Going, oh my gosh, there's no worms. There's nothing living in there. So you'll have to reapply that. You'll fertilize more often here than other places in the country. So those 3 things. I also use the same stuff for my evergreens. New Year's. You'll go through your neighborhood right now. You're seeing some evergreens. They look kind of chlorotic. They look kind of have a yellow hue to them. That's called winter chlorosis. And so it's very common here. It's because we're alkaline water. You might have missed last fall's fertilizing. You just hit it with this, a little bit of this around your evergreens. Oh man, they stay rich and green and thick. Also with evergreens, you only get 1 shot with evergreens. They push their candle growth in the spring. And that is it. Once that is locked in, it doesn't grow anymore until next year. So if you can fertilize right then, you can get your spruce, your pine, your firs, those Christmas tree looking plants. You can get those to be fuller, thicker, nicer, and greener. Another kind of insider tip, I didn't bring a sample of that, but aluminum sulfate. A lot of you folks like blue spruce or silver spruce. You like this real bright silver or blue colors? Well, that's aluminum. If that plant uses up all the aluminum, it turns green. So if your plant was brighter a year or 2 ago, and now you're going, oh, it's not the same. I don't know what's going on. If you were to give, in addition to this, you give it aluminum sulfate in addition, it makes things very acidic, and then that plant will pick up all that silver, and it will almost glow in the dark when you get all done. I mean, that next spring's growth will be like, whoa, beautiful. So those are things we can help you with. Sidebar, take a camera, go click. I don't know what's going on. Help me make this thing better, and we'll help guide you through and get you the right things. But I think I've seen everything, and then there's always some freakish bug I've never seen or some weird thing. Every spring there's something that adds to now I've seen everything. So that's just gardening, isn't it? So fertilizing, you'll fertilize more often. I did make how are we doing on time here? Oh, good. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you, Ken. Did make a fruit tree and vegetable food. Here, let's take this. I've got 3 handouts, and I wrote a low maintenance landscape book. It's digital. You can read on any digital device, phone, iPad, whatever. It's a PDF, so you can download it. It's there to make on any device. I'll send you a link to that. Okay, so I didn't want to print out all 60 pages or whatever. I don't have that much ink or time. I get too many friends is what's happening, but I want you to have it digitally. Who reads an actual paper anymore? Oh, good. Okay, now let's check who reads it digitally? Yeah, there we go. It's skewed. The last couple of years, it's kind of skewed more iPad. The more iPads there are out there, the more digital stuff. So I read the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post every morning. on my pad. So it's just kind of how I read things anymore. And I can read in the dark. If I get up early this morning, I got up at 6. It was dark for an hour and a half. I can still read, and it's easier. I can zoom in. It's just kind of for me. I do like the feel of a paper when I'm at a hotel or something. I'm at the front counter. Okay, there, I'll pick one up. But anyway, I sidebar. How did I go there? Fertilizing. Oh, let's go over planting. Oh, I did this. Fertilizing. Oh, the handouts. You're seeing those things. I'm going to send you how to fertilize the top 10 plants. By no means the only plants, just the most popular conifers, the most popular spring bloomers, the most popular shrubs under 4 feet, the most popular screening plants. The top 10 is 2 pages. It's no description, just here they are. 10. Here's the 10. It's lilacs are going to be a spring bloomer. Crepe myrtle is going to be a summer bloomer. Just the top 10. It seems to help folks really get honed in quickly. Then you can take it from there. I don't go over colors, just all lilacs. But I carry the dwarf repeat bloomers. I have the tall, one your grandmother grew. We got everything in between. But lilacs, they should be on the list. How to fertilize in top 10, and then that book, Low Maintenance Landscape. That's what you're going to get. You'll get a link to all 3 of those by the end of the weekend. Depends on how busy it's going to be. Yeah, so this fertilizer, this was a fruit and vegetable food. So this edible thing, we got this interesting thing going on. It's inflation. It's the price of eggs. You know, they ran out of chicks like that. Everyone's into chicken farming. Everyone. Everyone's into gardening. In fact, we're upping our tomato counts. We're trying to get more fruit trees because you can grow it yourself now, cheaper than you can go down to, it's just so expensive. So we're seeing this renaissance, not a renaissance, it's just more interest than ever on edibles, from grapes to berries to fruit trees to tomatoes, which is coming, lettuce, all this, anything edible. There's a resurgence of that, and I think it's the inflation is doing that. Going, I can eat out of my backyard. Why am I doing this to myself? And it seems to be all ages. It's newer, younger, older families. It's to everyone. Is this? So we're trying to react to that. We created this food. It's all organic, just for edible things. So it's 6-4-4-7. So it's got nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, the right balance, pelletized, easy to use. But I know if you've got edibles, you're struggling with calcium. I know it because I've done it myself. So I just put 7% calcium in this. So calcium, if you have a lack of calcium, throw this down, it's heavy. Blossom end rot. So you got a tomato or a pepper where that flower touched and the fruit will actually turn black and rot. It's called blossom end rot. Your squash will form and then they just turn yellow and drop off. Those are all indications of calcium deficiencies. Add calcium, it'll stop that. Fruits, you can get fruits bigger. You can get bigger clusters of grapes, bigger berries, calcium. So it brings the flavor and the color and the fragrance out. And so I made a separate food just for the hardcore organic folks. It's cheap, completely organic, and it's made for us up here. So I like the science. I like to make things grow. I was trying to figure out how do I do that. And I got friends who are pretty smart. I go, hey, Tom, how do you pull that off? Well, let me tell you. Here's my formula. I just take that and pelletize and give it to you all. So that's kind of the fertilizers. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee, catch my breath. Yeah. Oh, so she's asking how much fertilizer. What I legally have to tell you is read the label. But when it gets down, so when you're fertilizing bigger plants, it takes more because they're just bigger. Don't focus on the trunk at the base. I see that as a big mistake. Everyone's going, yeah, but I got fabric everywhere. I can't put it on top of the fabric. It won't go down. I want to put it right there at the trunk. There's no feeder roots at the trunk of a plant, a lilac, Forsythia rose. All the feeder roots are farther out at the drip line, so the outer branches. So if I'm the trunk, these are the branches, focus that fertilizer halfway out here. Focus it out there. That's where all the feeder roots are that pick up food and water. They're real fine, like white feeder roots. At the base of a plant, it's big, chunky, basically anchoring roots. They got a whole bunch of bark on them. They're just big. They can't take up water or nutrients. They're just there to keep the plant from blowing over in the wind. So the bigger the plant, the bigger the drip line typically. So focus out here and it will look salt and peppered. So I think the label says 2 cups per 3 foot of height. I tried to make it easy to read, but we've got it for, one's got it for lawns, other one's, a bag will cover 2,000 square feet, but read the label. I can help you read the label afterwards, okay? I would not put it on my block. Why are you fertilizing block? What is going on? Oh, rock, yeah, put it on rocks. Right on top, goes right to the fabric, yeah. For you gardeners, if you just have to work it in, go ahead. I don't take that kind of time. I'm the laziest gardener ever. I just chuck it on and I go, and I'm walking off, okay? So right now we just got our first crop of winter blooming pansies and violas. So the flowering things you're seeing now, these are things that can take bright days, cold nights. So this guy, I've seen this buried. I've got these in bloom in my own yard right now. Snow, covered in snow. They're poking up through, trying to bloom. This loves to be now. I bring it to you because this is gardening for newcomers. Most folks wait too late and they put this in May. They've seen them blooming all over their neighborhood. And so they're going, oh, I want some of those too. And they come in May, they get the last crop. And then this plant does not like the summer. It does not like to be above, it likes to be cold. And so they tend to vaporize in June. They just, no matter how much water you give them, they just lay down and die. This is not a summer plant. This is I plant this in fall, so I have some color through winter. So just watch when you're planting things. Another one I notice, geraniums. Geraniums everywhere else in the country, you plant them in full sun. And the tag says, grows in full sun. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And they are. They will grow in full sun. They only bloom for about 3 hours and they drop their blooms. If you give them a little bit of protection, they bloom for 2 weeks straight. So where you put those, where you plant things, you Californians, you love your Japanese maples. You can grow Japanese maple here. But there you grow it in full sun. Here we grow it in full shade. This altitude, the sun is more intense and the dryness is more intense. And so the tag says it'll grow, and it will grow, but it'll be an ugly plant. You'll hate it. You'll be frustrated. Every tip will have brown to it, but it'll be flush. It'll be luxurious if you plant it more in that shade, early sun. It'll take a half day of sun. Just keep it out that midday in June. It won't like that. So get it more protection. So that's the reason I brought that. Where you plant things. So check our website. You know, everyone's going digital, so are we. It's the biggest pain in the derriere I've ever done, but you got to do it. You spent 2 years trying to launch this thing, but all this stuff is on our website. And we have the descriptions are how they grow here. It's how tall they get here. It's not the national tag. We're trying to help you do some research. And we have maybe 3% of our sales come from the website. Most I find people research and they go, I see you have, and they're here buying it. So it's like a lead generator or whatever, but they're doing it for research, taking notes, and they're coming in to buy it. Some folks are buying it going, yeah, now I want to pick my 3 things, and where's the whole stock? And they come and pick it. So that's there to help you. If you want a direct shortcut, top 10 plants. So the number 10 plants takes you right there to the shopping cart. So, and before they even come in the gates, they're uploaded to the site. So you can see the trees, fruit trees. We got a lot of fruit trees. Well, the number 2 question I get per day is, do you have? Well, check the website. I'm not running over 2 acres. Not paying people $20 an hour to go run around the yard. You can't afford to do that anymore. You set up a website. So you check, and that's a shortcut for you all. It's there to help you. Yes, you can buy online. I find most folks buy in store, but either way. Okay, let's go down the line and then just kind of show you some things I put together. Let's start down here. I brought this one. How are we doing on time, Ken? What time is it? We got 2 minutes. We'll kind of keep it short. This is an agave or century plant. The myth is this blooms, it says a huge stalk that grows up about 10, 12, 15 feet with a beautiful flower. You can almost watch it grow by the day, but the myth is it blooms once every 100 years. That's the name, century plant. This gets great big agave looking thing. Don't put this where the grandkids are going to run by it. You will impale yourself. It looks pretty in pots. I bring this one because we have a lot of influence of agaves, like the blue agave that grows down in Tucson, Phoenix. I have really tried to grow that up here. It won't grow. It dies. I can get it to go for a year, maybe two, and then winter just kills it. Just won't grow. So there's different hardiness, especially with agaves. Make sure you get in a high altitude one. So we carry this one. This grows on top of the Bradshaws. We carry the Utah Gensis, which is more of a rough, kind of a wild one. It grows up on the canyon. But this is century plant, an evergreen. This one is starting to bloom all around town. Rosemary. This is one you cook with. This is a shrub. It's like this. We also have the ground cover variety. It just kind of crawls over walls and through rocks and stuff. Both grow well. I'm hearing it gets a blue flower, and it's starting to bloom now. So, and it's one of the very first food sources for bees. When they're coming out of hibernation, they're really hungry. So they'll use this as a foraging kind of plant. Be careful what rosemary you plant. There's like 50 varieties. There's only about 5 or 6 that grow up here. The others die off. So either do your homework really well or buy from a reputable garden center who only sells the right ones for up here. That especially goes true for the ground cover varieties. I see a lot of varieties here and I'm going, oh my gosh, that should not be planted up here. I know they're going to struggle, but I'm at the blue box or whatever, and I just go head down and going, I can't watch this. So sometimes you have a loss. It's not your fault. You were sold the wrong thing. It should not have. You should never buy a plant from a big warehouse. That plant has never seen sun. There's no temperature regulation. It doesn't have I know they're cheap and they're big and they're pretty, but this thing is going to struggle when you finally take it home. You want something that's been grown outdoors. It's been grown locally. It's used to our sun, our water. It's been grown for here. That's used to, you can transplant. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox for a minute, but boy, I'm embarrassed. It's not you so many times. Yeah. Say it again. Here's my microphone. What did you say? She said she won't buy anything from anywhere else but Waters Garden Center. You heard it here. Berries. So blackberries, raspberries, boysenberries, they all do really well here. I mean, they're like weeds. They're really good. Grapes grow really well here. Table grapes and vineyard grapes. So you can grow both of those. The grapes, I notice, will be a little smaller, but they'll be sweeter. Something like this, my own personal gardens. I'll take the grandkids out. We will eat grapes until we are sick. I mean, we'll eat berries till our faces and hands are just black because they're so production. Yeah, you could start. They're just coming in. So there'll be about a month before they start leafing out. But yeah, this is all winters. This is winter growth. But we're bringing them in because this edible thing is big. So we're trying to bring them in early. And so they can acclimate and they'll take off on our season. Get them in the ground now, and they'll wake up when all the other plants are waking up. Full sun. Full sun equals about 6 hours or more, just so you know. So things that produce flowers or fruits typically, not always, are full sun. You need at least 6 hours to create that photosynthesis to make the flower or the fruits, or more. More equals bigger fruits or more fruits. Blueberries. It's for you Midwest folks. Blueberries, you love your blueberries. I'm mouth watering, just think about blueberries. It does grow here. I encourage folks new to gardening, because it's gardening for newcomers, don't start with blueberries. They're more challenging to grow because they like to be so acidic. I do grow blueberries. I grow them in pots, so I can grow them in potting soil. Potting soil is mainly peat moss, which is very acidic. So they seem to like that. When I put them in the ground, they just get yellow. It's hard to keep them full. The berries are really small. Just they struggle with that alkalinity. You can control raised beds, containers. That's where you put blackberries or blueberries. Blackberries, they'll grow anywhere. Then you curse at them, kick dirt, and they still grow. So anyway, just a quick lesson on berries. Fruit trees, we do fruit trees really well. Apples, pears, cherries, nectarines, apricots, persimmons, pluots. We've got the 4-in-1s, 5-in-1s of cocktail trees. So I've got a cherry over there with 4 different kinds of cherries on one tree. For you folks in smaller yards, you don't have room for 3 pollinating apples. Well, I've got 1 to 4 apples right on it. So now you can put it all on one tree. Do homework on your fruit trees. It's not a fruit tree class. I can't go very deep. You can grow them. This lesson is just make sure you're getting the right varieties for here. It's all about chilling hours. And we do not grow citrus. We do not grow avocados here. You will see them sold in other retailers. Just don't plant them. They're not going to grow unless you can bring them indoors or you've got a greenhouse. That's cheating. Bring them indoors or Arizona room. There you can grow them, but it's winter kills them off. It gets too cold. Okay. This one I brought because it's one of the first ones that'll bloom in spring. Can they see? Yeah, they can see that. This is forsythia. It's got a bright yellow flower to it. It'll be all these are flowers. The whole thing will be just solid yellow. Beautiful. Javelina, deer, rabbits don't eat this. It's a great shrub. Gets up about head high, nice and full. You can keep it trimmed down if you want. But I think every yard should have a forsythia because it just, when you're getting that ants, you just want to get out there in the sun and enjoy some fresh air finally. Anyone else tired of sipping tea and baking cookies? I just want to be outdoors now. I can't use a grill in the backyard. There's still that much snow on the ground. Come on, I'm tired of this. But this one will start blooming here within the month, if not within the 2-3 weeks. It's ready to go. Forsythia, F-O-R-S-Y, Scythia. You can come take a picture of the tag when we're all done. Hollies. This is a holly. This one just came in. Evergreen, broadleaf evergreen. I brought it because in the East Coast, you're growing this out in full sun. Here we grow it in more part sun. So it's not going to like that midday June. It's 92 and a prevailing wind. It's going to get brown tips. The tag says grows in full sun. Nothing eats it. It's easy to grow. Can you see that, Ken? There you go. Anyway, just make sure you're strategic on where or ask us. We try to put that on signage. We try to let you know. It's because we don't want you to make a mistake. We want the plants to thrive, not to struggle. But hollies, pretty. I plant this one. This is great by the front door in a pot because every time it looks good year round. Gets white flowers in the spring, red berries. It screams holidays, and it still looks like this. Looks beautiful. So it's a good plant there. On patios, we've already done those. I brought this one because no one thinks it grows here. This is rhododendron. That's a zone 4 or 5. Goes down to minus bazillion. We'll never see that kind of cold. Animals do not eat this. Doesn't like the sun. So plant it in more shade. Where you see beautiful rhodies out in the forest in between the pine trees, that's where they just thrive. They're beautiful places for them. Or along the east side of your house, east side of your patio. They'll get nice and thick and full. They'll bloom every spring. It's got that bright, like fluorescent flower to it. It grows really well here, just not in the sun, okay? That's a theme. This one, I brought a few that are more native-y. This is the wild manzanita that grows here. So it's Howard McMinn. We'll sell, I think we're growing 4 different varieties of manzanita. This one happens to be the big one, the one you see in the wild. This is it. This looks innocent. It's going to get this big. Red bark, evergreen foliage, and has a bell-shaped flower to it. They're just starting to bloom. But through March and April, they're in full bloom. Again, they're one of the first things to bloom in spring. That's what the bees use to forage around with. But manzanita as well. This one I would not put on my drip system. If you kill it, it will be because you watered it. So it does not like heavy clay soil. It wants to be thirsty. So just make sure that soil doesn't stay too wet. Deer don't eat it, but things don't bother it. For me, I grow this one. This is silk tassel. It's got the same leaf as manzanita. It's got a prettier flower, I think. It has a real long, like tassely flower to it, and it's faster growing. So we just lost a dog last year. This was the memorial tree over top, memorial bush, our way to memory. So always hang their collars up in the juniper trees. We always plant something. I remember that was the greatest dog ever. Why is every dog always the greatest dog ever? Because they're all great. That's why. So, except for you cat people, every cat, we have both. So cats are awesome too. They're not as loyal as dogs. Yeah, they're easier to care for, but not. This is silk tassel. Again, native. I don't put this on my drip system. I plant and water by hand when I remember to. So that's a good one. Evergreen. This is what it looks like in winter, just like this. It gets a little fuller too. I find it gets thicker. Mine's up. I planted it a couple of years ago. Now it's up like this. Just gets a thicker canopy to it. And I find they're a little longer lived. Sometimes your manzanitas, they tend to die out. That center kind of dies out. You see that naturally. Just naturally happens. They're kind of short-lived. They're always throwing up pups, side plants. But once they start dying out in the middle, just get ready to plant a new one because there's no recovery. So it's just their time has come. This one is a giant yucca. We grow a lot of yuccas here. It gets a white flower to it, kind of spikes up. I brought this mainly for you folks that have landscape help that's helping you. The mow and blow guys, rake and blow things out. Now, just so you know, they couldn't get jobs anywhere else. So they're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Sometimes you have to guide them on what you want them to do. The biggest mistake I find those guys make, they got a pickup truck, they got a shovel, and they got scissors, pruners, and they'll treat this like a grass. They mow them down. So they cut them back, and it takes years for a yucca to recover. It just hurts me every time. So grasses you're cutting back right now because they're all brown and they look terrible. So pampas grass, that's that great big grass. It gets that great big white plume. Those should be cut right back down to knee high. Just whack them right back down. And you'll find that the new growth is already starting to happen. But if you don't do that, you'll get this brown and green kind of all coming up at the same time. Cut it back, it's all fresh. Don't do that with your yuccas, agaves, your brooms, any of those spiky evergreen things. Kind of guide them a little bit. Sometimes you can give them some recommendations. And if in doubt, take a picture, bring it in and go, hey, how far back should I prune this? Well, just tell you. What I'm doing with these kind of things, I'm taking the flower, that old spent flower from last fall. I'm cutting that off as low as I can, but everything else is left intact. So, okay. This one, again, you could plant that and not put it on drip, just let it go. Many of my natives, I'll put it on a drip for one season, then I bend it back, cut it so it doesn't water thereafter. So you got to get the roots from here out, but once those roots are out, they can go by themselves. No help from you at all. Some flowery things. You're seeing some things come in. Every yard needs a wildflower. We're into wildflower season. If you're thinking about having a wildflower patch, now's the time to put the seed down. You have just a couple more weeks to put that down for easy success. But this is the one that kind of thinks it's a wildflower. This is snapdragon. There's a lot of colors. Animals don't eat. It looks delicious. I mean, I want some ranch dressing, kind of dip it and have some. But it's got a sap to it. The animals, deer, javelina, rabbits, they don't like this. That's a great one in containers, out in the yard, raised beds. So how tall it gets, and it reseeds. So you never get just one. It's going to come back other places. So if you don't like that, don't plant snapdragons. Plant poppies. This is an ornamental poppy. We'll have California poppy, the one with the orange. Or they're up right now. They just aren't blooming yet. So we'll keep them at the farm until they're ready, until they're actually blooming. But probably in a couple of weeks, we'll start having California poppies. This is oriental poppies. Poppies do really well here. And again, animals seem to leave these alone. Get both of these.
Early spring. These are early spring things. Bless you. This one I love just about anywhere. This is Dusty Miller. This is how it looks year round. This nice foliage, but it goes well with other things like pansies. This is a giant pansy. This one gets a yellow flower that kind of hovers up there, but animals don't eat this. Easy to grow. Animals do eat this. In fact, if you had a dinner party, you want to impress that uncle you haven't seen for 4 years, take some of these and put them on top of a salad because they're edible. They'll be awestruck. Going, you can eat these? Yeah. Grandkids. Hey, dip them in some, whatever their favorite dressing is. Oh, wow, that's cool. Can I get some more? There won't be a flower left by the time they're done. So, but they bloom easily. What else? A couple of these things. Make sure we're on time. We're doing okay. We're a little bit over. I brought these because they're so popular. This will be on that top 10 list. This is a #1 selling evergreen that's a kind of a ground cover. This is Mugo pine. Gets up, like this, kind of mounding like this. If you want a pine that's super easy to care for, that's just low care, that's it. And then if you look at all your conifers, you're seeing that's this spring's growth. So that will elongate. So this will double in size this next spring. So Mugo pine. This is winter creeper. I brought it as a lesson going, this is usually this color. You're seeing down below this green gold color. New buds. It's got new growth coming out right now, but its winter color is like this. So many plants here, evergreens, have 2 colors. Its winter color is this reddish color to it, but its actual growing in the growing season will be this green with a gold tinge to it. I brought another lesson for that, just so you could see the difference. These two, I know I brought the lesson. Where did you go? Oh, there we are. Yeah. This is probably the top selling broadleaf evergreen for shorter things. You Californians call this, this is heavenly bamboo, or Nandina for the rest of the country. Thank you for that. You're hired if you need a job or need some weekend help. The employee discount's awesome. These are both the same plant, different varieties, but they're the same evergreens. This is what it looks like in the shade. It'll go in shade or sun. The more sun it gets, the more red it gets. So as you walk through your neighborhood, you'll see some of these that are just glowing red, bright red, and some are more green. Those are the ones that stay in the shade. So it'll grow anywhere. But if you want a cute little mounding shrub up to about hip high or so, that's bright red, put it in the sun. If you want it bright green, keep it in the shade. So I just brought that as a lesson for you. Juniper, just to give them a chance. I know some of you have allergies. Well, I feel sorry for you because there's no hope. You're surrounded by juniper forest. I have a huge male in my backyard. It's the males that give us issues. So you can walk through a forest. The ones that have a yellow hue right now, those are all males. The females do not have pollen, but they're pollinated by the males. So they literally will explode. He'll literally will explode. And he'll think he's going to populate like the entire mountainside. That pollen just wisps over. He's pollinated every female. The females put the berries on. Males don't. Males have all the pollen, all the allergy stuff. And I have a massive one. And it's loaded right now. It's like yellow. It's going to be a bad pollen year because all the moisture and stuff that's happening. So they're happy. The junipers that we sell here at the garden center, guess which ones we grow? No males allowed, just the females, because they're prettier. Usually they're fuller, they have brighter colors to them, and they don't have the pollen. Because we know you're going to come and go, I don't want junipers. But junipers grow natively here. They're just natural. So it's so easy to grow. Why not put some in there? So I use this one a lot. I've got from the deck, I've got a 1.5-story deck looking down over the gardens. There's waterfalls and ponds and hot tubs, grills, entertainment patios. But we're looking down on our adobe, just on our abode from here. But it's real dark. So the pond is dark. The ground cover is dark. It's dark. So I plant these. Sometimes you got this dark rock to put more greens and blues, it blends in so much. It doesn't look as good. Sometimes use contrasting colors. Hold on. I've been talking so long. You can go so long. I don't have COVID. You can't cough anymore. What is that? It's so difficult. So I'll use contrasting colors. If you have real light rock, like crushed granite, there I'd use more greens and blues, that darker colors. So you can play that out. But I love this one because it only gets this tall and it spreads. Some of them are from me to you. They're magnificent. And I hardly do anything to them. They just adapt so well. So there's a place, I'm trying to give a place to junipers because I think for my rentals that I have, I plant junipers because tenants can't kill them. So there's a place for them. That back mother-in-law's quarter or the back barn, put these. Why struggle with other stuff? There's a place for them. So, but I do hear more often than not, I have allergies. Well, that's not going to make any difference. Lastly, I'll leave you with a couple bug things. So right now, what I'm doing personally in my yard, I'm finishing all my pruning. I'm spraying everything with a horticultural oil. I'm going to put, the hose goes right here, and you turn it on, and just fan sprays. I want all the eggs and all the bugs that were laid, I want to be clean this spring. I want to go into spring as I grow without issues of bugs, aphids, thrip, ciliads, or all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'll spray everything down, especially roses. Where I've had issues last year, I'll spray those down really well. This is an organic oil. It's called horticultural oil. That's what I'm doing. And then I'm fertilizing everything in the yard right afterwards. And I'll do that all. I'm trying to finish it up right now because things are starting to grow. I mean, it's cold, but they're starting to bud. The ground is thawed. They're thinking it's going to be spring pretty quick. So plants are kind of like in a rubber band mode. That rubber that's stretched out pretty out. When it goes, it's going to spring. It's going to be spring like that. Okay, and then spraying my fruit trees, roses, those especially fruit trees. Yeah. Then my roses, I'm cleaning up my roses. You can do. It's not a rose class, but I'm pruning them back. I'm spraying them, and my roses I'm fertilizing with a rose food with systemic. The systemic, we have a real bad thrip and aphid issue early on because our spring is real long and cool, which is perfect for aphids and thrip. That's what they love. And so I get bugs in my roses. The rose will form and it gets this, looks like someone took a Bic lighter to it. That's thrip damage. And I know it's going to happen. So I'll clean up, spray everything, and then I'll fertilize my roses specifically with rose food with systemic, the systemic part. The plant will absorb the food and the bug control through the stalk. It gets inside the flower, and I have much better flower color. That first bud set, much better flowers. So that's kind of something that I'm doing. Not organic. That's why I don't use it for everything. But if you want roses that are really pretty in like April and May, this is your only hope. Okay. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'll take a couple questions and then we'll see. We're already 15 minutes over. Oh my gosh. You all are so patient. Thank you for that. Yeah. Questions in the back over here. Anyone? Yep. This? Yeah. Yeah. You should have come last week. It was such a good class on fruit trees. Yes. I'll spray it with this. But clean up, I like to clean up, get done with pruning first, just so I'm not spraying. It reduces the amount of spray. It's easier. Get rid of some of the mass, then spray it. Yeah, this is the least expensive, least offensive, most organic spray you can have in the yard. I'll love it. I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd focus on the base too, just because that's where a lot of the colonies I've seen. Freaky colonies of aphids and thrips hanging out. They've wintered at the base in that litter. They seem to congregate. It's warm, it's moist. That seems to be where they kind of hang out. So yeah, I would start with that. And then for you, especially apples and pears, just as that flower is pollinated, you'll see it'll look like it's snowing. So So it's pollinated, it's starting to form fruit, the petals are dropping. Spray it again right then. That's when that worm gets in there, just for you. And we can talk offline, sidebar some more. Anything over here? Great question. I covered it all. Wow, yeah. Thanks for coming, you all. Yeah, sure. So for her blueberries or coffee grounds are a myth. In fact, I've got in my writing sequence coffee grounds. Coffee grounds do not do what it says it does. It's not going to change your pH. It doesn't hurt. It only helps. But it's not going to replace compost around or shredded cedar bark or 3-inch layer of. It can only add. It's not going to really change it. Same with eggshells. Eggshells, if I put those in, it'll make all the difference. Eggshells take like 3 years to break down. It will make a difference 3 years from now. But right now, if you need bigger peppers, not as good. So that's where you get confused by what you're reading sometimes. Bananas are good, yeah. But again, pine needles, all these different things, they're better to add to your compost pile. Break them down, then add them. If they just compost in the ground under the gardens, they actually take nitrogen, they take things from the soil to be able to break down. So, but eventually it'll break down and be there. That's why we have compost piles. Oh, see, and you get all kinds of wives' tales. Yep, all kinds of things. For here, the alkalinity really slows things down sometimes. So I would not add poops in my gardens. I mean, just don't put things they have disease things that happen. Horse is better, although it has grubs and some issues. If you're going to do manures, now's the time to do manure. Use this is barnyard manure. So about 15 years ago, I was loading a bag of steer manure in the back of someone's Lexus. This is an expensive car. It was beautiful, clean. And I'm putting this, it had just rained. This bag was goopy. I was holding it out like this, and I'm putting it in the back of someone's trunk. I'm going, this is wrong. It had not been the way they used to do manure or the way they still do manure. It's basically they attach a bag to the back of a cow and they just collect it. They seal it up. They go, here, you want some? That's manure. It's not composted. I mean, but just for days. So we said, I got to do something. I can't put this in the back of Mercedes or Cadillac, or pickup trucks are okay. But even then, you get $100,000 pickup trucks. They don't want that goo in their back of their truck. And so we took it, we composted it for a year. We've got multiple manures and the bedding all composted down into one. So now it's deodorized. It's not gooey. And it doesn't smell. It just doesn't. You could stick your hands right in there. You think it's really rich compost. Now I'm not embarrassed. Part of it's just I don't want to be embarrassed when I'm trying to help you. But the stuff we've always grown. Your grandparents did it that way. That does not mean we have to do it that way now. Your grandfather didn't drive a $100,000 pickup truck. So anyway, it's just things we're trying to do. One last question? Yes. Sulfur. I only use it once a year. The handout that I'll give you, it'll be in your box pretty shortly, says use sulfur in the all-purpose food in the spring, use humic, H-U-M-I-C, and fertilizer in the summer. Humic is humic acid. So again, it lowers the pH, but I know you've had some summer damage. I know things are actively rooting right then, right before the monsoons. So we double down on the humic acid, and fertilizer does similar to it. But yeah, sulfur just once. So I didn't get the big bag. I only showed the small bag because it was easy to show you. I sell it in big. It's more economical if you need that much. So anyway, I will hang out as long as you want. I'll answer questions. I'll just be here. Thank you for coming. Before you go, I'll let you clap and just say thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Next week's class. What is next week's class, Ken? Is that on evergreen? Oh, evergreens that bloom early. So there's a whole series of plants landscaping mainly, that start to bloom. It probably won't quite, they'll be heavily budded. We'll show those things off and then how to plant those for success. That's next week. Appreciate you coming, you all.